bit of a challenge with my device, so I am working with my phone. I will put my camera on as soon as my other device reboots. But in the meantime, let's start the meeting so that we don't hold anybody up. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. I know we originally wanted this meeting to be physical, but taking into consideration all of the challenges that we are currently facing across the province and in the city with the inclement weather, it is best for us to conduct the meeting virtually, although I don't anticipate the meeting being very long, so we can probably save a little bit in terms of spending for a physical meeting by having our meeting virtually today. I'd like to begin just by giving all members present an opportunity to introduce themselves as per the protocol for virtual meetings. So colleagues, if you can just state your name and that you are present, I'll give you an opportunity to do so now.
Morning, Chair. I'm Leon van Wyk, a member of this committee.
Morning, Chair. Derek Wessels, member of the committee.
Morning, Chair, and morning, colleagues, morning, officials. My name is Noko Masipa. I'm a member of the committee and the HOD. Greetings to you too.
Morning, Chairperson. Good morning, members of the committee. Grant Marie, and I'm a member of this committee. Thank you.
Excellent. I think we've covered everybody with that. Do we have any apologies, Mr. Kutsia, from your side?
Chairperson, the only apology I received was from Minister Bradell. He could unfortunately not be present at the meeting.
And I think that's totally understandable as well, taking into consideration the challenges that we're currently facing. All right, then, if we can then just go through some of the rules for our video meetings, just so we remain aware. All microphones, please mute those now so we don't get any background noise. And if you do want to raise a point at any stage, please use the raise hand function. And then also please make sure that you keep your sound off at all times unless you are speaking. And if possible, to please use your video when speaking, just to make the meeting more interactive. If we then move on to today's meeting, we have the following officials present. It's Mr. Gerber, Ms. Mabusela, Mr. Monroe, Mr. Rebel. Then from the Department of the Premier, Ms. Faber, and from the Western Cape Provincial Parliament, our legal advisor, Ms. Kuile. First item on the agenda is the feedback from the department on the submissions received in respect of the Western Cape Land Use Planning Amendment Bill. I see Mr. Kutsia has his hand up. Mr. Kutsia?
Apologies, Chair. No, just Member Stoffel is in the process of joining us, but she's got some problems and IT is helping her, so she'll join us shortly.
No, fantastic. Okay, thank you so much. We can then just note that. I'm now going to hand over in terms of our first item to Mr. Monroe and Mr. Rebel, who will provide us with some feedback on the comments received on the Western Cape Land Use Planning Amendment Bill. That's Bill 3, 2025. Members will recall we embarked on a series of 4 public hearings, which were undertaken in different parts of the province. And I will hand over to Mr. Monroe and Mr. Rebel just to provide us with that feedback. I'm not sure who wants to go first.
Good morning, everybody. Cobus Monroe here. I'd just like to hear from my own HOD if he would like to say something at the start. Otherwise, he may want to chip in at the end. Gerard?
Thank you. Good morning, Chairperson, members and colleagues. Quibus, if necessary, I'll come in towards the end with thank the steering committee for the opportunity to be before the steering committee today on this important matter. But Quibus, I'll send over to you and Theo. Thank you.
Thank you, HOD. Chair and honourable members, Mr. Rebel will share a presentation, but let me start by just getting the temperature in the room. What the preference of the standing committee is here today. We have submitted written responses to all the input that we received. So I assume that all the members have received the response matrix and have it in front of them. In fact, they may also have the presentation that. Thanks, Chair.
Yes.
They may also have.
Mr. Monroe. Sorry, just in terms of that, apologies.
Yeah.
Just in terms of that, I mean, what we require from you, Mr. Rebel, really is just a brief summary. Everything has been distributed to the members, so members have had an opportunity to read and peruse that. So we're taking that as read. So this really is just an opportunity for you to provide a brief summary as you so wish. All right.
Good. Chair, so what we've done is maybe Theo, if you can put up the slides, then I'm gonna start and let by the chair. So you just put that in presentation mode, Theo, as well, please. So Mr. Rebel, can you put that in presentation mode for us, please? Yeah, please proceed. Still, Theo, just put it in presentation mode there, right at the bottom. Yes.
Yeah, not going
That's
full screen for some reason.
There we go. Okay, I think it would be okay. Thanks, Chair. So, so that is just information of where we're at, just a summary of where we're at in this process, where we come from. I'm not going to go through that. I think in the middle of the page there, the important bit for today is the public consultations that took place by the Standing Committee last year, September to the 1st of October. And I think important right at the bottom there, the summary that you require. 253 people attended the sessions, Chair, and I think that is an excellent response from the public. Normally, with these kind of things, I think not so many people attend. I think it depends, of course, what type of bill you've got, but I think this was an excellent turnout. We had 21 written submissions recorded and 51 verbal submissions recorded from this public participation process. You can go to the next slide, Theo. As the members would recall, there were, of course, some of the responses that were directly related to the bill itself, and we can have a discussion about that today. But then there were also, unfortunately, many other frustrations aired with things about housing, availability of land, and other frustrations that community members experience. Also, the level of service that they get from municipalities also came up quite a bit. But unfortunately, a whole bunch of that had nothing to do with this bill, and we couldn't assist with that. So what we've done is we have provided a comment and response matrix to the committee where we addressed everything. We didn't just ignore those issues, but we pointed out that those are not related to the bill, and they are captured in the response matrix as well. What we do have today, Chair, is 15 of those issues that actually relate to the bill itself. And we've got a slide for each of them. And I would just like your guidance on that. You've mentioned that the committee has all read these. So we can take one of two routes. We can either just go straight into questions, or if you would like, I can go quickly through the 15 issues and just mention the issue that was raised and how we responded. What would be your preference, sir? Would you like me to go through them quickly?
Yes, if you can, I mean, that would be, I think, preferable, because then we can have that up just for a refresher for members maybe who read it a little bit earlier or haven't had an opportunity yet.
Good. All right. So if we can go to the first one, Theo.
Chair, apologies, just maybe if Theo can stop sharing and reshare, maybe that will solve the display issue. So maybe Theo, stop sharing and reshare, and then go again on display.
It doesn't want to.
Yeah, we can see it, but it's just not getting full screen. That's all.
I think Theo's got multiple screens now. The right screen doesn't want to share. Chair, just what we've done with the slides. Of course, the issues we've limited to only one issue per slide, and we've highlighted some of the keywords so that it reads quicker and easier. But just for information, the top right-hand corner, the figure that you see there, 27, that is the number of participants that mentioned this issue. So you would see that we had 53 responses and 21 written responses. So just over 70 input that we received, and a fair percentage, almost half of the people noted this specific issue. So this specific issue, I think, Chair, you will recall you asked me at one of the meetings that we should actually make this clearer, before the meeting, because it caused a lot of confusion, and that was the deletion in the bill of how public participation should take place. Then in the bill, what we then propose is that section 43 and 44 is completely to be deleted and replaced by the requirements of PAJA itself. How that happened, just to give a little bit background, we worked with those two sections, with section 43 and 44, over quite a long time, and we amended it and amended it. And what we realized after a while was that what we ended up with looked a lot like PAJA. So, and then when we reached that point, where we decided, well, and in fact, it was a comment from Cape Town as well, that why are you giving us a version that is basically a verbatim copy of PAJA? So we then decided, because PAJA applies anyway, that we will delete it completely. And so although a lot of people highlighted this problem, I think they misunderstood that there would be no guidance from provincial or national level, and municipalities can do what they want when it comes to public participation and good administration. But that's in fact not the case. There is a little bit, not much, but a little bit more freedom for municipalities to deviate from the PAJA requirements. But overall, the bill is still in line with PAJA, and we're quite comfortable that comment doesn't require any further action from us. Should I stop after each issue, Chair, or should I just run through? There are 15 of them.
Just keep going.
Keep going. Thank you. Okay, Theo, you can move to the next one. Thanks. The next one had to do, Chair, with the public participation of the bill itself. So it's not so much the content, but the way the public consultations were advertised and people were invited. And how we responded there is that this bill was made public through 4 rounds up to this point. 3 rounds of public participation by the department itself. And you see the dates there, 9 November, 15 April, 16 October. And then the Standing Committee conducted a round of public participation again. So there were 4 rounds of public participation and invitations for people to comment and participate in this bill. So we think that is not a justified response. Good, thanks, Theo. This one has to do with an amendment that we've proposed to give the minister a little bit more time to, after an emergency event like we have yesterday and the day before, and the minister had to act quickly, especially when they had to move people to safer places, out of water, out of fire. The bill required that the minister must, within 14 days, submit reports to cabinet, and also within 30 days, I think it must be gazetted. Those were the and we just provided some relief because it was too onerous to move in such a short time. And remember, this is not public participation as the objector or commenter commented. This is not public participation. This is requirements that the minister must comply with after the fact. So in yellow, we say there, the Act does not require consultation in emergency situations. It requires the minister to act quickly, and then after that, to go and report to cabinet what he has done, and then to gazette what he has done. And all we've done is to give him a little bit more time to do that. So I think the comment there was also misunderstood the intention of the amendment. So there's nothing further that we need to do there. Thanks to you. This one here is an attempt to reduce the, I don't want to call it red tape because this is not red tape. These are administrative requirements in law, but just to speed up the processing of applications, allowing the time for government departments to be reduced from 60 days to 30 days. So the commenter there say we're watering down the public participation and that people won't get a sufficient opportunity to comment, and also the inability of the Act to ensure that departments then actually do comment within that 30-day period. So just firstly, this reduction from 60 days to 30 days do not apply to the public. This applies only to government departments. The public only has 30 days anyway. It's always been like that, so we're not changing anything there. This is to get government to move faster and to comment quicker. So to save a little bit of time in the processing of applications. Of course, where it is not reasonable and departments cannot respond within the 30 days, we have a clause in the bill that allows them to request the municipality to give them an extension of time, which is reasonable, which the municipality will do, especially from certain departments where you desperately want input from that department, like our roads department or agriculture or education or like that. So, yeah, we will see how this goes. Our feeling is that the majority of departments will be able to provide comment easily within the 30-day period, but we are aware that there will be instances that some departments will need. And the principle in law is that you don't regulate for the exceptions, you regulate for the middle road, if you like. And we believe we should keep the 30 days and try to speed things up in government across the board. Thanks, Chair. Thanks to you. Good. So this specific clause was to rectify a challenge in the bill or in the main act, that a subdivision included, the definition of subdivision included sectional title developments, which was an unintended consequence and should never have been like that. What it meant was that a sectional title development would now be required to get an approval from the municipality for a subdivision, and we just rectified that. Because, as you know, sectional title is just a form of ownership. It is actually not a subdivision. If you have, for instance, a block of flats, the sections that you can purchase in a block of flats does not represent a subdivision. So the previous act had to be amended to just make this clear. And I think the commenter or input we received misunderstood the intention of the amendment, and were concerned about the City of Cape Town now allowing 3 dwelling units on an earth, that public participation in such cases will now be limited. But of course, as we pointed out, if you have an issue with these 3 dwelling units per earth that the City of Cape Town now allows, your opportunity is to comment when that rezoning is done, or when that zoning scheme introduces the overlay zones for which areas 3 dwelling units on a single earth would be possible. The fact that that specific owner may choose to sectionalize those 3 units into 3 different owners, that is a different aspect altogether. So I think it's also one of those that I think there is a concern, but the concern is not necessarily related to the amendment in the Act itself. Thank you, Chair. Thanks, Theo. So this was an important one, Chair, that we had to get a legal opinion from senior counsel. Advocate Ron Pask was appointed to assist us with this. I think everybody is aware of the incredible waste of time that we encountered, especially with removal of restrictions in areas like Camps Bay and Grassy Park, and some of those areas where you actually have to contact every single landowner in an entire neighborhood. And if you even miss just one, you can fall foul of the law. And a lot of law firms and ratepayer associations took this to court, and we simply had to sort this out. So we got the opinion from Advocate Ron Pask to change this, and what it in the end boiled down to is that we had to amend the wording from just being everybody that's affected. We changed that to everybody that is materially and adversely affected. All right. So now the municipality have the job, firstly, to determine, but which people are actually being not only affected, but which people are actually being adversely affected, and materially. So there is now an obligation on the municipality to make this determination, and that would result in not everybody from now on in a township, whether that is Camps Bay or Grassy Park, doesn't matter where it is, Malmesbury, where these title deed restrictions still lives, to get a letter. The municipality's job now is to make sure that they contact only those that are materially and adversely affected. And that now brings it much more in line with how planning applications are dealt with across the board anyway. So there would be now no difference between how a rezoning is dealt with than a removal of restriction application is dealt with. This was an important amendment in the Act, in fact, that the City of Cape Town is waiting desperately to see implemented. So we're quite happy, and that we have the legal backing and the justification behind this amendment from Advocate Ron Pask to assist us with this, and our own legal department is also, after vetting this clause, now satisfied that we can proceed on this basis. Thanks, Theo. Not many left, Chair. This has to do with the bondholders' consent. This is not a main discussion point. We removed the requirement that a bondholder's consent need to be submitted for all planning applications as a provincial minimum standard to all municipalities. And the argument there is that this is a contractual arrangement between the landowner and the bondholder, and is considered to be a private matter. It is not for the municipality to insist and check these things. It is the responsibility of the landowner and the applicant that any contractual arrangement between him and or her and any bank be honored, and not the municipality's responsibility to check that. And also we've got over 40 years of experience with this, that we've hardly had any bondholder withholding a consent almost ever. So this is an unnecessary hold-up often for municipalities, and we've just removed that from the bill as a minimum requirement. Please note that if municipalities want to still continue with this practice, they're welcome, but it's no longer a minimum requirement from provincial legislation. Thanks, Theo. So reducing the available appeal mechanism is also, I think, a misunderstanding of what the bill is trying to achieve. All we're trying to do is to say that the bill does not propose any amendments to limit anybody's right to appeal. So this was a misunderstanding. What the bill does is when you do communicate a decision with an applicant, that we now insist that you must include the reasons for the decision, and that communication must be sent only to the people who participated in the process, and not to the wider audience. It doesn't mean that only the people who receive letters may appeal. The appeal provisions you will find in SPUMA and not in LUPA. The intention of this amendment is to make sure that we save time again, Chair, because how PAJA works is that it allows a participant in a process to request reasons for a decision, and then the department or the municipality is obliged to provide such reasons, and based on such reasons, any participant in a process have the opportunity to now challenge that decision in court. So what we're now trying to do is to save that time, administrative burden on both applicant and administration, to provide those reasons up front and not wait for a letter to only then produce the reasons. So that's the intention here, and it's not the intention to limit who may and who may not participate in a process. Good, Theo, thanks. I think we're almost there, Chair. This is a quick one. There was a request that the 21-day period within which you must submit an appeal be reduced in instances where there were no objections. And so the process is therefore actually ended, and you don't have to wait the 21-day period out to see if anybody wants to appeal a process if there were no objections. Of course, we cannot do anything about this because that clause is not in LUPA, it is in the national legislation, SPLUMA, so it's not something that we can fix in this bill. Thank you, Chair. Theo? All right, and yeah, so we had, you see the number at the top there again, we had quite a few discussions about inclusionary housing, and there are always misunderstandings about what inclusionary housing is and what it means, and the conflation of inclusionary housing with inclusive housing, with affordable housing, with social housing is always there, and it's understandable that these terminology are not, in the public's mind always. But what, just to repeat that inclusionary housing is a very specific mechanism that that municipalities may use if the circumstances are right within their municipality to force developers of high-end residential development to also include a percentage of more affordable housing in that development. Now, that is not always the best option, and some municipalities employ other options to make sure that affordable housing is provided, successfully so. City of Cape Town and Mossel Bay, for instance, don't use the inclusionary housing mechanism. They use a different mechanism, and there's no reason that other mechanisms can also not work. But what we had to do in the Act is to just define what inclusionary housing means and how it is implemented. And I think that is sufficiently dealt with. Here you can continue. This is a short one. There were still references to structure plans in the old Act, and we had to remove them because no structure plans exist. You will see there in the caption on the right-hand side that the Act actually in section 16.3 makes provision that structure plans were saved, was the term, for a period of 2 years after 2015. So by 2017, 2018, around there were no structure plans left in the Western Cape anymore. Next one, Theo. Good. So some municipalities, well, let me put it this way. The bill makes provision that municipalities may exempt applicants within their area from certain consolidations and subdivisions. And we've just made sure that that clause functions properly, because there were problems in the past that municipalities exempted subdivisions of agricultural land, and the argument there was that because this is properly dealt with in terms of the Subdivision of Agricultural Land Act, that the municipalities are not going to regulate that as well. But some municipalities neglected to include consolidations as well. So you find that subdivisions of farms and consolidations were not consistently dealt with throughout the municipalities, and we just tried to rectify that. But what the complainant here wanted us to do is to be more forceful. And of course, you see there, we quote the Constitution that we cannot enforce these provisions on the municipalities. If the municipalities do not want to do this, we can't make this a requirement that they have to comply with. Thanks, Theo. Next one. It's a similar one. It has to do exactly with the same thing, that when subdivision of agricultural land that does not lead to urban expansion is then exempted from the municipal process, and some parties wanted us to assist with the definition of urban expansion, and we declined and say this is not our place to decide for municipalities and be prescriptive about this. The expansion of urban areas in the municipalities differ from municipality to municipality, and it's not the province's job to get involved there. All right, next one. Only 2 left. This is an important one, and the clarification of what consistency means. I think everybody knows that applications received by municipalities go through an important test, and that is whether that application is either compliant, consistent, or deviates from a municipality's SDF. And the idea is if it complies or if it's consistent, and there's a slight difference between whether a full compliance and consistency, but even if it is not 100% compliant but still consistent, a municipality is in a position to then approve such an application. However, if it deviates from the municipality's policy or spatial development framework, then a deviation from that SDF prescribes a specific process how to then deal with it. So what we've done is to amend the Act to make it clearer what consistency means. so that it's easier to implement. So I think we've actually achieved that. Everybody now is on a better understanding, and authorities and applicants, when an application is consistent and or inconsistent. So I think we've done well there. I think the complaint there that the categories in an STF is now so broad that everything is everything can be regarded as compliant. We don't think that's the case. I think the Section 19 now works better, and the municipalities would be in a better position to make these determinations now with the new wording. Good, last one to you. All this is that the Act requires municipalities to consider inserting validity periods. Actually, all we did was that they must insert validity periods for approvals as a condition of approval. It is up to the municipalities to determine what those periods are, depending on the size of development, how much time you would allow an applicant to finalize a development. Section 43 of SPLUMA already regulates this up to a maximum of 10 years. So we can't, or municipalities can't go beyond 10 years in any event, but anything between 1 year and 10 years, that's the prerogative of a municipality. And again, it's not the province's prerogative to prescribe what those lapsing periods must be. We simply determining that the municipality must consider imposing such a validity period and not just leave it open, because if you leave it open, these developments then live forever. Chair, that's the last issue that came directly at the bill itself. As I said, there were quite a few others in your pack that you will see that we just commented that those are not related to the bill itself. And then, yes, so based on these submissions, Chair, we, the department and the Department of the Premier Legal Services, we do not think that any submission that we got justify any further amendments to the bill, and that we can, that's our recommendation at least, that the Standing Committee may proceed to the next steps with this bill, please. But okay, if there are any issues that committee members would like to raise with those 15 matters that directly relate to the bill, Theo and myself and even the HOD will respond. Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Monroe. Can I just confirm, colleagues, that you can hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. Sorry. All right. I firstly just want to say thank you to Mr. Monroe and Mr. Rebel, who attended each of them, between them, all of those public hearings between the two of them. I know some of them were in quite far-flung parts of the province, and I think you both acquitted yourselves extremely well, sometimes in the face of some very challenging questions from members of the public. So thank you very, very much for all of your efforts and in putting all of this together and the matrix. It is very much appreciated. Colleagues, I'm going to just explain quickly the process. We are going to now allow for any questions of clarity on the public participation process and those public submissions, not generally on the bill, on that process that Mr. Monroe has just outlined and the information that's been received. I think important to note that the recommendation is that there are no formal amendments that would be proposed coming out of that public participation process, taking into consideration all the comments that were received and the responses to those that have been detailed and I think quite adequately responded to. After that, we'll move on to an opportunity for any further comments in general on the bill and any potential formal amendments that members want to propose, if there are any. And then we would move on after that to the formal stage of reading the bill. So If we can just then ask members if there is anybody who has any questions, members who obviously attended those public hearings, but also maybe if members hadn't attended those public hearings and they have any questions, please feel free to ask questions of clarity on the public participation process now. Before we move on, are there any questions on that specifically? I don't see any hands. We'll then move on to the next item. Yes, is that Member Stoffel?
Yes, Chair. Chair, you must bear with me. Good morning. And
Good morning.
my apologies. Chair, bear with me, please.
Yes.
Because of this severe storm, we don't have electricity in town, and I'm squatting now. So I can't raise my hand, so you must bear with me. I will just give an indication if I have something to say, with your permission.
Of course. Would you like to ask a question of clarity on the public participation process?
Yes, I just want
course.
to
Go
give
for it.
some comment on that.
Yes.
Chair, thank you very much, and very good morning to everyone on the platform. Let me appreciate the presentation. And Chair, my only concern in terms of the public participation is that how will the weak attendance of the public participation justify our amendments within the bill to be approved or to be declared legitimate? What legitimacy will be in that amendments to the public? Whilst we all know the challenge, we've got a population of how many people in the Western Cape, and only we come with a certain portion. And my concern is, in our processes of the public participation, was we really, in terms of the requirements of public participation, did we really met that requirements in order for us now to try and bring the bill in front for approval? So I don't want to go in details. We all know what happened in these public hearings, and even the time within that public hearing for people to express their proper view pertaining the bill. So I don't want to dwell much. We know what happened, especially in Drakensberg, Stellenbosch, those other areas. We know what happened there. So I just wanted to be to give my comments on that, and to be clarified to say, will it justify what we are doing now? Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Member Stoffel, and for those comments. I will give Mr. Monroe an opportunity to respond if he wishes to do so. Obviously, him and Mr. Rebel were, dealing specifically with the comments and the public participation during those meetings, as opposed to the overall process itself, which was coordinated by Parliamentary Services. But I think some of your points are certainly taken into consideration, and we have obviously adopted our reports on those public hearings already, so that input has been put in. So thank you for that as well. But I don't know. I know Mr. Monroe did mention earlier that there was an above-average turnout for some of these public participation public hearings. Although I suppose the challenge is ensuring that the inputs are in the main related to the bill and are not general inputs. But it's not up to us to dictate to the public what they choose to say in a public hearing, and it is an opportunity for them to make their voices heard regardless. So I do know that many of those comments have been filtered through to other departments and to municipal offices as well, in terms of some of those more specific complaints. But thank you for that comment. I don't know, Mr. Monroe, if you or Mr. Rebel would like to respond. It's up to you. Is there anything that you'd like to comment on?
Chair, yes. I think we can never do enough public participation. I'm sure one can always go a little further, and one can always find improvements, if you like. And yes, there were in some instances where Stellenbosch, I think Member Stoffel refers to the Stellenbosch meeting where no councillors pitched up. But I think that if it was the only opportunity, you know, we could have voiced this concern, but it wasn't. I think I tried to make the point that throughout this bill, it was put out for public participation on 4 different occasions. You know, so people were invited to participate in this process 3 times through the press and direct invitations prior to the parliamentary process, and then only the parliamentary process continued with a further round of opportunities for people to participate. So I think my sense is that to be respectful towards public participation. I think, as I say, we can always do better. We can always take it further. Not everybody reads the papers. Not everybody reads social media. Not everybody listens to the radio when invitations go out. But I think in this case, I think we've gone beyond the minimum requirements of the law, as I said. And in fact, the law only requires this one process, but we've done 4 times that. So I think, and if there were issues that came out of the public participation process that seemed to be unresolved, you know, I think that would have justified us to revisit some of these, but they were not. They were not issues starting to repeat itself that we were concerned about, that the public are not informed or that they didn't get a proper opportunity to comment on these things. So I would recommend to the committee and would suggest that I think we've done well in terms of public participation, in terms of the number of times that we've given the public an opportunity in the press to participate, and they did participate. We did get a whole bunch of submissions in all 4 rounds of public participation. And then also on this specific case, our previous experience has been that these parliamentary processes often result in, you know, very poor attendance from the public. But the attendance in these 4 meetings were great. Yes, there could have been more people, and there are still people who claim that they didn't know about the meetings. But I think we did our best. I don't know, we can obviously go into how people were invited, but that, I don't know if Mr. Kutsia wants to add something in the platforms that people were invited, but I think my sense from the department is that I think we've done what is required from us to make sure that the people of the Western Cape were aware of this bill and what the bill is about, and given them a fair opportunity to comment. Sorry, long-winded story, Mr. Chair, but that's our view.
No, thank you, Mr. Monroe. I think that's more than adequate. I don't think Mr. Kutsia needs to respond unless he really wants to. I think we have covered most of that ground previously in terms of that process. So thank you. Colleagues, I note that was the only comment.
Chair,
Member Stoffel, do you have a follow-up?
yes, Chair, please. Chair, I'm sorry. Chair, let me go into detail. Seemingly, we are scared about to talk about this thing. Chair, as a committee, in terms of public participation, we have agreed. I remember Member Noel Constable was still a member of the committee that time. Our argument was to say, how are we going to deal with the rural areas? And there was a promise from the committee to say, in terms of the participation, the department itself will then arrange with the municipalities, the nearby municipalities, for big screens, for people to go and participate maximum. But not a single of that happened. And that limited our people to participate in the process. We raised that. I raised it within the public parties meeting with Mr. Juan to say, Mr. Juan, I don't think this is fair because there was a promise. And all you found out, even the specific councillors was not even there based on this, that they were not being informed by the municipal manager or by the speakers of the municipality. So, Chair, there was already a problem for people being denied their rights. So I don't want us to come here and say here the public participation, I think it was justifiable. It was not. And Chair, as we sit here, we don't know how many people really did attend there, because we were supposed to look into the attendance register and verify it, what we are saying. Because we don't have that information, and we're supposed to have those information now with this discussion. So actually, how many people was here in this area? How many people was in this area? Now we don't have it. There is only a view that say, I think it was. So I don't want to be difficult this morning, but I want us to really look into the comment or the question that was being raised, to answer it in a proper way that it will justify our attendance. So anyone of here, take us to court tomorrow. We're supposed to provide, to say yes, with pleasure, we will provide this information. But now we are discussing on in half of information we don't have in front of us. Thank you, Chair. I hope I make sense, Chair. But thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Member Stoffel. I think it's important to point out that today's discussion is around the comments received. The process and the public hearings were discussed in a previous meeting where we adopted reports on that. And that was an opportunity to raise these issues, which I don't know if that was raised during that time. Mr. Coetzee, I'm going to give you an opportunity to respond because an allegation has been made against you, and also allegations that we were going to set up big screen TVs. I don't recall that, but Mr. Coetzee, can I give you an opportunity to respond?
Chairperson, yes. Look, initially, when we started working on this bill, the committee's idea was to have virtual public hearings on it, and that's where the whole question of screens and setting up points in municipal areas for the public to attend. That was the initial discussion. The committee then went back onto their decision and decided to conduct the 4 public hearings, which we did. The attendance registers was distributed with the documentation that was distributed in the course of last week, I think, or week before, to members. So all the attendance registers were distributed to the members, and I think in total, Kobus them indicated there was 251 people that attended our public hearings, and in my experience, that's actually a very good number for 4 public hearings. Chair, further to that, I don't have anything else to attend or to add, but I think the documentations were distributed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Coetzee. Before we move on to the next item, I see Member Masipa has a point that he'd like to raise, a question of clarity, perhaps.
Chair, good morning once again. It's not a question of clarity, it's just to second what the procedural officer indicated. I think I can confirm that those were the deliberations, and that's what we have agreed to in terms of this the public participation that we have undertaken. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, Chair, that was my understanding, Member Masipa, that was my understanding as well, was that we actually went one step further from initially wishing to have the virtual hybrid meeting to then embarking on 4 public participation meetings, so that we were going to give members of the public an opportunity to attend. And the last session was also a hybrid session where members who weren't able to attend were then given an opportunity. So I certainly think the committee has gone above and beyond in terms of offering that assistance. So thank you for that support. Right. Colleagues, if we're going to then move on to the next item on our agenda, which is deliberation on possible amendments or other points to be raised by members. Are there any specific amendments that members would like to make on the Western Cape Land Use Planning Amendment Bill B3 2025? I see Ms. Kuile has her hand up. Would you like to propose an amendment, Ms. Kuile?
Morning, Chair, morning, members. Chair, I've only been allocated this bill now, and I have not had an opportunity to make my views known. So, Chair, I beg your indulgence in this regard, and Chair can indicate at which stage of the proceedings I may make those views known. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Ms. Kuile. I'm just going to give members an opportunity first, if they have any specific amendments that they would like to propose, or if they have any further questions of clarity on the bill or the provisions of the bill. And then I will give you an opportunity after that to make an input. Member Murray.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the presentation. A lot of my questions that I had concerns about were addressed in the presentation and the way it was presented. But Chairperson, may I make a few comments perhaps and hopefully lure some response to my comments on certain sections that I'm concerned about?
Of course, sir, this is your opportunity to do so. So please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Mr. Chair, thank you. First of all, I think it's important that we adjust legislation as we go along. Legislation can at times get stale and not keep up with current events that's happening in the country. I know that in terms of land, a very sensitive issue in South Africa, especially in the Western Cape, where migrations to the Western Cape is putting tremendous pressure on our need to develop and try and stay ahead of the curve, which we are currently not. But Chair, I just want to touch on a few matters that was mentioned. Just in terms of section 43 and 44, the restrictive conditions, I take note of the responses and the presentation. My concern was just that perhaps when it comes to the decision not to give notice to certain affected individuals that will be affected. It's mentioned materially and adversely affected that was inserted there. I just wanted to know, in terms of the materially and adversely affected, is there a provision made in the bill that defines materially and adversely affected persons that will only receive the notification? Just on that. And then secondly, in terms of the structural plan, I know that the department mentioned that there's no structural plans left in the Western Cape since 2017, 2018, and therefore they have removed reference to structural plans. I just want to understand, I'm not an engineer, but I want to understand in terms of the effect that will have in the relationship between the provincial spatial development plan and the municipal spatial development plan to align itself with the national development plan. Will there be any impact that we foresee there? I mean, the Western Cape province or government has jurisdiction over the whole region of the Western Cape. Will there be, is there strain between, or will it create strain or distance between provincial planning and municipal planning? Because our provincial spatial development plan considers the national development plan in terms of its vision for the province. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thanks very much, Member Marais. Any other members want to pose a question? I see Member Stoffel's put a mic on. Member Stoffel, over to you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chair, I'm not sure because I don't have my document in front of me. But at some stage within this bill, there was an indication that because of processes delayed by certain with certain municipalities in terms of this land, that the MEC can then also kind of overrule some decisions if it in terms of maybe timeframes or maybe so I'm not sure which part of the bill it is, but there is such within that bill that it was being presented for us for consideration of amendment to be amended. And then also, Chair, I just want to be clarified to say our current state within our municipalities when it comes to land and when it comes to agricultural land, when it comes to what you call this land, most of our municipalities, they don't know currently which land is what land. And it belongs to national because within our areas, even it's there. There will you get municipal land, but also what you call this, it's not about commercial land. What is this land? Whereby you get national department. The land belongs to the national department. Yes. Now, that on its own delay most of the processes. Now, what the committee have said before to say, without that rectification, it will be difficult to bring in any amendments to any bill because the municipalities themselves should be clarified where is what. So mine is to say, my question is to say, ask to the presenter to say, what are we going to do with such occasions whilst we are sitting with these amendments? Because at the end of the day, if you amend, you can't reverse. You can't reverse, you approve, it goes for amendment, and you can't reverse. It will be difficult to reverse. But now I'm asking the presenter should clarify to me, in the absence of that, how are we going to deal with the amendment in front of us? I'm not sure whether, Chair, you have captured me or try to. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Member Stoffel, for that input. All right, I'm going to give Mr. Munro and Mr. Ravel an opportunity to respond to Member Marais and Member Stoffel's queries.
Thank you, Chair, and honourable members for the questions. Thank you very much that you studied the legislation as well. The first question from Honourable Member Marais in the respect of the decision not to give notice to people who are not materially and adversely affected. In other words, that is the decision of the administration in a municipality who to contact or who to send something to. So if there's a proposal, whether anything really, a proposal that requires the public to be informed and to invite the public to participate in the process. How do you decide, who is affected and who's not affected? I think generally in a situation like that, the municipality needs to be cautious. And my experience is that they normally go a little bit wider, further. They put a radius around a proposal and contact all the people that lives in that radius. And they generally, in an attempt not to make mistakes and not to leave people out, they draw that line generally a little bit wider. But the question that you actually ask is it defined? No, it's not defined. That is a public official's job to determine, based on the facts, based on what is proposed. It is a public official's responsibility to determine who those affected are. And it happens with all legislation and with all types of developments. It is the council's responsibility, but the council will then delegate that to a level further down, which would be either the MM or a director, or further down, depending on what it is. I mean, you can imagine if it's just a small thing like a building plan or a new garage, that circle of influence would be just the neighbors, and not an entire neighborhood. But when it's something much bigger, like a sports stadium or a new residential development, they would go much wider. And in fact, often when they realize that it's not only specific people that are going to be affected, but a whole community, then you must employ other mechanisms of public participation, like going to the newspapers and to publish for the whole town that something is happening. And that's also how PAJA works. PAJA divides public participation in two categories. They call it, when a person is affected, you notify that person. So the public administrator in a municipality must determine who will be affected by this proposal. And if it's only the direct neighbors will get a notification, direct notification. You will receive a letter or an SMS or an email or a WhatsApp. You will receive a notification from the municipality. However, if a community is affected, then you must employ publication in the media to make sure that everybody in the township get an opportunity. So to answer your question directly, Honourable Member Marais, it's not defined, but PAJA does do that, and that it explains how you communicate with interested and affected parties that are materially and adversely affected. Then just your second question on the structure plan. No, the structure plans are old order tools that comes from old order legislation, member. Structure plans come from the old land use planning ordinance, which is a 1985 law, and also the Physical Planning Act, which is a 1991 law. So those have been replaced now by the SDFs, and as you correctly state, the national SDF, the provincial SDF, and the municipal SDFs are now nicely aligned in terms of the legislation, and the removal or lapsing of the old structure plans doesn't affect that at all. It's just simply old order legislation tools that had to be removed. But the reason they were still in the legislation was to ensure that there's a good transition from the old order to the newer legislation, and we don't have situations where there are gaps in policy, because we throw everything that's old out, or pre-constitution, we throw everything out and we start over. But in that period, we may sit with a situation where we have no policy. So what the legislation simply did is to say, let the structure plans, even though they're from older legislation, let them live on for 2 years. It was a 2-year period. So that gives municipalities and provinces and national the opportunity to come up with a new policy instruments, which is now the SDFs, the Spatial Development Frameworks. So no, we don't need the structure plans at all. It doesn't affect what we do anymore. They're all gone, and they don't affect our work any further. Then, Honourable Member Stoffels, I'm not sure about the reference that you refer where our MEC can overrule municipalities. I'm not aware of any such instance. I think we've paid a lot of attention to the legislation to ensure that that no longer can happen. We know constitutionally municipality cannot be overruled by the minister. But what the minister can do is to exempt the municipalities from processes in the provincial law. So those are not municipal processes; those are provincial processes that requires certain applications to be done, requires certain public participation to be conducted. But as I say, in emergency situations where people's lives are at stake, flooding, fire, I don't know which all those xenophobic violence and so on, where the minister have to move really quickly to get people safely out of danger. The minister then can be exempted from those formal processes. But it's not municipal processes. He is not overriding municipal processes. If there are any municipal processes that requires any exemption, only the municipalities themselves can exempt any community from complying with those municipal processes. So I think I think we've done well over the years to separate the municipal and the provincial functions. Then finally, the comment about the current state in municipalities with land ownership and land audits not being done, and the understanding of what is municipal land, what is national land, what is provincial land, and also then activities that take place on that land, and the inability of the municipality to often act against illegal use, for instance, on land owned by public departments at national level, land invasions, illegal activities, and so on, that the municipality is not in a position to actually fulfill its mandate because it's not their property. And the real owner of the property does not come forward to submit the proper applications and run the correct procedures on those properties. The municipality's hands are actually tied. So I think it's a real problem that Honourable Member Stoffels highlight. And I think we've got quite a few examples where that situation plays out. But the municipality's hands are actually tied in terms of this legislation, at least. This legislation requires the owner of the land to apply to the municipality to rectify situations or to apply for certain activities to take place. If the owner of the land does not come forward, it's very difficult for the municipality, certainly in terms of this legislation, to force such an owner to come forward with the correct procedures to do township establishment, for instance, for people that has settled on land informally. There are other opportunities to rectify that situation, but the bill that we've got in front of us is not geared for that. It's not the intention of this bill to deal with that situation, Member Stoffels. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Monroe, for those responses. Colleagues, I just want to check and confirm from the members' side, are there any other issues, questions of clarity in terms of general for the bill or proposed amendments? Okay.
Come again, Chair.
Just hold on 1 second. I see Member Murray.
Sorry, Chair.
Yes, Member Stoffer, I've heard you. Just give me 1 second. I see Member Murray has his hand up, and then we'll take Member Stoffel, your follow-up as well. Member Murray first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Monroe, for the responses. Mr. Chair, with your permission, I would just like to do one follow-up in terms of the response and perhaps raise the issue of, by the admission of Mr. Monroe, that there is no definition to material and affected persons.
That discretion will be given to an official who works in the city of Cape Town or any other municipality. And it will definitely then be basically an unregulated decision, because he will have or she will have a discretion in terms of the category of perhaps a decision that needs to be taken, whether it is just a title deed restriction that needs to be granted or whether it is a development. The discretion will be in the hands of an official. And I don't know if this committee is comfortable with that, or whether we should actually propose that categories should be stated within the bill, categories of certain types of permissions that must be granted, and that regulation should be in place so that there is not too much discretion given, to an official who just has to get things done. We have political leadership within municipalities, and then we have officials that must do their work. But how much discretion are we going to allow officials to have when it comes to, we reach a point where communities will be affected, but they will not have much say in any development that takes place. And that is not being regulated sufficiently, in my view. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for that input. Member Stoffel.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chair, mine was not based on a comment or whatsoever. I just wanted to know, or maybe a follow-up on my previous input, was to say, does the bill make provision in terms of, or is there provision made within the bill pertaining the current situation within our municipalities? We are faced with instability, political instability within our municipalities. And most of our municipalities, or we are leading to coalition municipalities, whereby even that exemption of the MEC won't even allow him to do such an exemption. Now, what are we saying when it comes to that? And Chair, I wanted to know, I'm not sure whether it was the previous indication from one of our participants on the committee now, that said she have just received the bill, or her comment she will then, and I believe maybe it's from the legal department, I'm not sure, assist me, Chair. I would love to know whether that comment, will we then be access even to that comment as committee members to hear what is her view on this bill. And I'm in support of the question of Member Mare. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks very much, Member Stoffel. Yes, as mentioned, I am going to give Ms. Kuile an opportunity to make her input. I just was giving members an opportunity first to make their inputs and ask questions of clarity, and thank you very much for doing so twice. I know so has Member Mare. So I'm just going to see if Mr. Munro, if you would like to respond. I know some of those were inputs and comments, but is there anything that you would like to respond to directly from any of those comments?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think, when one in legislation gives a power or a discretion, our legal colleagues always ask us, so where are the parameters, within which such discretion choices can be exercised. One of the answers to that, of course, as I've already mentioned, is you do find that in PAJA, where it has the distinction between when an individual, or I think they refer to a person, and that is a person in the wider sense of the word, a legal person, and that could be a company or an individual person, is affected, you must contact them. And once that goes wider than a group of persons or individuals, then you must change your method of public participation to the type that affects the whole community. In other words, newspapers, radio broadcasts, and things like that. So that's already the one guidance that we've got. The request from Member Murray, Honourable Member Murray, that that this discretion or which categories we're talking about concerns him. That's the very nature of being a municipality, to take these decisions on a daily basis. And I think I would Chair, with respect, would want us not to go there, because it's almost an impossible list to draw up. There are so many permutations that will play out. So guidance in this respect is going to be almost impossible. To try and provide categories for when an official decide to send letters only to that group of people or only to that group of people. That is a discretion that the Constitution gives to a municipality. That is the decision that they must make. The other thing is, it's also not, I don't want to use the word willy-nilly, but an official's decision to decide, let's call it incorrectly, to notify too small a group of people that are materially and adversely affected by a certain decision. That decision in itself can be challenged. You know, the Act doesn't say that official's decision is final. The Act says that all the people that are materially and adversely affected must be contacted or must be notified. That's the decision, not whoever the official decides. Can you see the difference here? If you, for instance, if you are an interested and affected party living close to a new development, and you are of the view that you are affected, but somehow you didn't get a notification, somehow you were overlooked and you didn't get the opportunity because the official couldn't get your address or didn't know about you, or you were overseas, or whatever the situation may be. It doesn't mean that you are now missing that opportunity to participate. You have recourse. Things like this can be taken on review, and there is oversight over this process. And the public's voice is not silent on this. If you are really an interested and affected party who are materially and adversely affected, sorry, Chair, by a proposal close to you, or not even close to you, but affects your life or your property or your financial situation, you may participate. And no official that made a mistake by not sending you a letter can take that away from you. So, Chair, we've talked about this before quite a number of times already, and even with previous legislation. This is not a list that's easy to do. This is a constitutional function given to municipalities to perform, and it's typically not something that's delegated to a very low ranking official. It's typically a responsible official, you know, like at director level or senior management level at least, that takes these decisions, because these decisions have consequences. And if a municipality makes a mistake by not running the public participation correctly, you would know that our laws are severe and harsh on public participation processes that were not followed properly. So I would suggest and recommend, Chair, that we do not consider a definition with categories to be inserted in the legislation. Also for the reason, remember, that this is not municipal legislation we're working with here. We're working with provincial legislation, and we can only suggest minimum standards. We cannot impose this on municipalities due to the constitutional division of powers between what a province can do and what a municipality can do. So I don't know if my HOD wants to come in here, if he can put it more eloquently than I can. But my suggestion is, please, that we that we consider that we not consider this is my recommendation. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. I think Kobus put it well. The fact that there is guardrails in terms of the PAJA requirements and what's reasonable under each circumstances, and that we can't go too far in terms of provincial legislation. It's a municipal planning matter, and we legislate it broadly, but it's then for the municipalities to make sure that when they're applying their discretion, that they meet the requirements of reasonability. And of course, as Kobus have touched on, there is recourse available if someone feels that that in fact they should have been notified, and that they would then have the right to pursue the recourse. Thank you.
Chair, Chair, sorry, I didn't deal with Honourable Member Stoffel's question about the current state and instability that we found at our municipal spaces. I mean, that is absolutely understandable, and we acknowledge the legislation makes provision, and it's not in the amendment bill, it's already in the act itself, that it is the provincial government's responsibility to where required to add capacity, to support. Those are all the functions that are section 155(7) of the Constitution, and train, and even sometimes step into the shoes of the municipalities to assist them to get the planning function at least functioning properly. We're also entering new phases now with better shared services models, which I think you will hear from other platforms as well, where we'll get our municipalities to start sharing responsibilities and helping each other, because some of our smaller municipalities simply do not have the financial means to appoint professional people, and there's no reason that they can't share professional people between municipalities, between a group of municipalities, maybe share a professional person at district level to help the whole district. We have been together with our colleagues at the Department of Local Government trying to get some of these shared services agreements specifically for the implementation of this act off the ground. And we've had some success in the Central Karoo. We've had even people appointed at the district municipality to provide the service for all three municipalities in the Central Karoo. Unfortunately, we were not able to retain the professional person that was appointed recently in Beaufort West, and she left. She left the service of the Beaufort West District Municipality, or the Central Karoo District Municipality. But yes, Member Stoffels, the legislation does make provision that for struggling municipalities and where there are instability, and the planning service at least is not functioning properly, that we can step into that space and play our role, our provincial oversight role, and assist those municipalities, which we do. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Munro, for that. Yes, and I think it's a very important point is to remember that we are dealing with provincial legislation here, and all municipalities are empowered to develop their own legislation. The City of Cape Town's municipal planning bylaw, which deals with a lot of those provisions, obviously in consideration of the national building regulations and all of the other pieces of legislation. So this is simply one part of that. I will then give Ms. Kwele an opportunity to raise the matter that she wanted to raise earlier, our legal advisor. Ms. Kwele.
Thanks so much, Chair. Chair, I noted the first comment regarding the public participation and the use of PAJA. And I noted also the answer to that question. But Chair, there is a sense of disconnect between what is being asked and what is answered, because the concern is not whether PAJA is constitutionally capable of regulating procedural fairness in land use administration. PAJA undoubtedly remains applicable to municipal land use decisions and continues to provide a framework for lawful, reasonable, and procedurally fair administrative action under Section 33. The concern that was raised, rather, is the practical implementation of removing a codified participatory frame guards from the legislative framework. Chair and members, as you all know, even in the legislative sector, we have grappled with the issue of public participation, and there were frameworks developed, and norms and standards is being developed now, whose aim is to provide consistency of how these principles are applied. So sections that are currently in the Act do more than merely replicate or duplicate PAJA. They codify the minimum participatory processes, and in doing so, create a level of procedural consistency across municipalities with vastly different institutional capacities, resources, and administrative sophistication. And the difficulty with relying primarily on PAJA is not one of legality, but one of implementation. PAJA establishes the constitutional standards of fairness, but it does not provide a uniform procedure or that is a sufficient architecture for how meaningful participation must occur in practice. Because, Chair, remember, participation must be reasonable, the opportunity provided must be reasonable, and also the participation must be meaningful. So the effect of repealing the codified safeguards may therefore be that the quality and accessibility of public participation becomes increasingly dependent on the capacity of the individual municipalities. So in well-resourced municipalities, this may not present a significant difficulties, but however, in municipalities with limited resources and capacity, there is a real risk that participation becomes formalistic rather than meaningful. And this is particularly important in the Western Cape context, where public participation in spatial planning carries constitutional significance due to our history of exclusionary and unequal land use governance. I don't mean to be on a soapbox, Chair, but I just thought I should add that context. And the concern, therefore, that although procedural rights may remain formally protected under PAJA, the removal of the codified standards may weaken the effective and consistent enjoyment of those rights in practice, especially for vulnerable or under-resourced communities who may lack the means to vindicate those rights through litigation after the fact. So accordingly, the issue is not simply whether PAJA is legally sufficient.
Sorry, Ms. Pule, I don't want to interrupt you. Obviously, yes. I just think it's important to bring it, to your attention that usually it's members who participate in the debate section of the political discussions and inputs. So I was specifically giving you an opportunity in terms of legal advice. So is there a specific piece of legal guidance that you would like to provide in terms of this? I also just want to find out, you mentioned that you only received this now. When were you allocated to this particular item? Because my concern is that you haven't been given an opportunity to provide your inputs to the officials, and that we're sitting at the stage now during the consultation phase with the full committee that this is getting raised. Can you just explain a little bit in terms of your involvement and how you've only received it now, and whether this is being communicated with the officials as well? Just, we want to ensure that we cover all our bases and we're efficient and we don't leave anything out. And then just if you can advise in terms of any legal guidance. Thanks.
That's correct, Chair. This bill has only been allocated to me now, so meaning that I haven't had an opportunity to, comment on the matrix that was given. I haven't had an opportunity to provide my legal input from the onset. I only received it now once all, submissions have been made and the process is at this stage. So, Chair, regarding the legal input I wanted to make, it was only on this point of PAJA, and I do realize that, it is at a late stage, but it would be remiss of me, Chair, not to, raise the issue. And I understand that it may have been ventilated before. So I was not privy to those discussions, but that is all that I wanted to raise. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks very much, ma'am. Can I just ask you again, though, just in terms of the specific legal guidance that you are providing us in terms of this, are you suggesting that the section in response to PAJA is incorrect and that it should be changed?
No, Chair, my submission is not that it's incorrect. I note Mr. Monroe's comment that when they, were drafting this provision and amending it, they decided to remove it in totality because it was reminiscent or was appeared to be verbatim of the PAJA. So my legal advice, Chair, is that these two provisions should not be repealed in totality, that there should be some sort of cross-reference to PAJA, that there is within this legislation itself a sort of a codified system that is not left to the discretion of officials in municipalities to make these calls which have constitutional significance, which I'm aware that they're fully entitled to, but there has to be a measure of consistency. And if I can equate it, Chair, to what we are experiencing in the legal sector, is that although these constitutional rights are codified, there is a measure of consistency with our own frameworks that has emerged from the case law and the cases that have been decided. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Kule. Before I hand over to you, Mr. Monroe, I'd like to give the HOD an opportunity to respond here as well, because I'm also concerned. I see he's got his hand up anyway. I'm just concerned that we dot all our I's and cross all our T's here in terms of process. And I certainly wasn't aware that we'd only been given this item over to legal at such a late stage. My understanding was that Mr. Marsdorp had dealt with it previously, but Mr. Gerber, HOD, can you just explain where we are?
Yes, no, thank you very much. I think it's important that in terms of the provincial legislation that it's for, and in terms of the test, whether there's reasonability, and that must be determined in terms of the specifics of each case. What's really being argued for is that in terms of consistency and a standard, that would be for each municipality to, if they want to go further in terms of providing that within their municipal planning bylaws, that they're obviously able to do so if they want to frame the discretion. We have framed it as we've indicated in terms of who will be notified, and that specifics, the municipal procedures must be followed. We work closely with all the municipalities in terms of making sure that the heads of the municipal planning on a quarterly basis meet with us, as each of them are drafting their bylaws and looking at best practice and learning from different cases, that there's also a sharing of what the best practices look like, and we have also done model bylaws, and we share work done by different municipalities with others, and through that way we are ensuring that the best practices are replicated. But we can't go too far and then in fact wanting to take away the discretion of the municipal planning, where they have to do the municipal planning, and therefore our position is, and it's through not just this legislation, it's through all the years of SPLUMA and LUPA now being in place, and all the cases that are underway within the municipalities that have also been tested in terms of the municipalities requiring public participation to be followed, the challenges to those processes and people participating in that. And therefore, it's not for us to go too far as a province to codify the discretion out of it. It is then for a municipality to, and remember, we've said that's who must be notified. It must be determined what public participation is required, and then the municipalities to follow that. And this would anyway, these things set out the minimum requirements. Then it's for a municipality to decide whether they, as Cobus have touched on, want to go further, which they do, depending on the specific case. It's important to also understand the broader system of municipal planning and where the municipal land use decisions come in as part of that, because there is also consultation that happens throughout the formulation of municipal policy, municipal spatial development frameworks, municipal local spatial development frameworks, municipal precinct plans, and related work that all allow for public participation and that frame the consideration of project level, property level, land use decisions. And all of that frames and influences the discretion that's then exercised when considering an application, a land use application at a property level. So it's not unfettered, bringing, all of that is framing, and all of that was informed by public participation. And all of that also sends a signal that for that particular property, what's the context, what's to be taken into account, both in terms of process, but also in terms of substance, in terms of that particular application. Thank you.
Thank you, HOD. Sorry, HOD, I don't want to put you on the spot here, but are you able to just advise in terms of the process with the legal advisors as well? Because there seems to be a little bit of confusion there.
Maybe maybe Cobus and Theo can come in, and I don't know whether Tanya also wants to come in on that in terms of the process to date, in terms of the legal input from everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, in fact, I don't have the answer, sir. Yes, we don't know Mr. Kule. So I see she was not the legal advisor advising on behalf of the Department of the Premier. I assume she's the legal advisor of the Standing Committee. Anyway, Tanya, can you help us? Sorry, Chair, I'm just putting Tanya on the spot on your behalf.
Morning, Chair. As far as I have it, Ms. Kule is the legal advisor for Parliament. So I'm unable to comment why she has not had copies of the bill or the comments and response report.
Right. Mr. Kutsia, are you perhaps able to provide us with some context here? I know we are harping on this one for a while, but it's important for us to establish this.
Chairperson, yes. Mr. Marstorp was allocated to the committee on this bill, and when he was appointed manager parliamentary support, I think Advocate or Ms. Kule was then allocated this bill. So the bill was available to her some time ago and could have raised any issues directly with me or to the chairperson. And then the comments from the department on the public hearings input was distributed together to her, together to the members. So I mean, it was available some time, but the bill was available to her for some time, and she is the legal advisor to the Standing Committee. So if she has got a specific amendment that she would like to do, then she must raise it, and then the committee needs to apply their minds whether they would like to accept it. And then if the department wants to counter that proposal, then and explain why they don't think it's a good amendment, then they can do so, yes.
Thanks very much, Chair. Yeah, obviously it would be a member who would need to propose that amendment. So I just want to find out, I'm going to open up then to Member Masipa and Member Van Wyk for inputs, and then we'll give Ms. Kule an opportunity after that as well. Member Masipa?
Yeah, Chair, I think sorry, Johan kind of covered me, because I just wanted to say that Mrs. Hwele is obviously our advisor as members, going through this bill. So maybe, that question was not really for the department to answer. So I think the question is, how do we go from here? Obviously, having not been able to go through the bill, maybe it afford us, we must make a call whether we afford the opportunity, to go through the bill and advise us as members in terms of what's the process going forward, to whether it meets the constitutional requirements as such, as the issues of PAJA was also raised, procedural fairness and lawfulness and reasonableness and so forth, that are covered by PAJA. So I think, Chair, the ruling is going to be us as members, to make a call with regards to what's the way forward. Having the legal advisor indicated that, I cannot advise you fully right now, but I need an opportunity to actually look at the bill and then advise the Parliament as such in terms of the way forward. Thanks, Chair.
Member Van Wyk?
Yes, thanks, Chair. Thanks for the opportunity. I think, in some respects, I'm being covered by Mr. Kutsia and by Honourable Masipa as well. My thought process was when Ms. Kule was giving us advice there, was that it seems to me that an alternative wording or an amended wording perhaps should be offered then from that legal perspective, so that the key points such as fairness and being meaningful and so forth in respect of public participation is then also just covered within the bill. I think we do accept what PAJA says, but maybe one just needs that additional coverage there. And I think, as Member Masipa said, one would then need to actually be reading in the bill there, have a read of it so that one could understand what that amendment would be. But I imagine that is something that we would then need to take into consideration. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks very much, Member Van Wyk. As I'm sure you can understand, we're in a situation where we've had the department not proposing any amendments. We haven't had any amendments proposed by members, but we now have a situation where there is an issue that's been raised by the legal advisor, which may prompt members to recommend a potential amendment. So it's paused the process for now. So we need to resolve this first and foremost. And the reason I was asking the department is in terms of whether there had been any communication with them, because obviously there hasn't been any communication with me or other members in terms of this particular point in the run-up to the meeting. So that was the reason behind that. Member Murray, I see you had your hand up. It's gone down again. Do you still want to make a point?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chairperson, I just think that it's important that Ms. Kule be given the opportunity to present legal recommendations or advice to the committee. I just want us to act procedurally correct and to make sure that we don't have any problems going forward. So I do think that we need to make sure that we tick that box and that this be referred to her for her inputs and before the committee proceeds with this particular bill. Thank you.
Member Murray, I fully agree with you. As mentioned, we had intended on moving through to the formal stage today. But I think taking into consideration these inputs, we may then have to pause that for a follow-up meeting because of the legal issues that have been raised. Ms. Kule, are you able to just respond briefly and just in terms of being able to prepare a proper legal presentation to us or a specific proposed amendment, because as Member Maria has mentioned, and I think we agree, you are here to advise us and guide us, and we don't want to not take that into consideration in terms of specifics. So over to you for a response.
Thanks so much, Chair. And just to clarify, this bill was allocated to me at the end of March, Chair. And regarding the opinion, I'd be more than happy to provide an opinion to the committee. And Chair, I think also what informs my view is that at the legislative level, we understand fully what the issue of public participation entails in terms of what needs to be addressed and taken into account. And we understand the gravity of that. Not to say that the department does not, but you know, we have that appreciation because we have been litigated on this issue so many times, and we have, you know, more or less been able to close the gaps in terms of procedurally what needs to happen in a public participation process. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks very much, Ms. Kule, and I agree with you fully. It would have been handy if we were able to have those amendments today so that we could proceed and not have to come back at a later stage. But I fully understand your sentiments. Member Stoffel?
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Chair. Chair, I don't want to comment. I'm trying to capture or to follow the meeting because I was disconnected. So I was disconnected whilst Mrs. Mpo was on the floor. So I was just trying to follow with yourself. But what stage are we now? But I can sense that after that there was a decision to say maybe we should pause.
Yes,
I'm not sure.
So we haven't. Sure. Yeah, so we haven't taken an official decision yet, but we have not proceeded on to the formal stage because of the issues that have been raised by the legal advisor, and she has been she's asked to have an opportunity to provide that to the committee more specifically in writing, and obviously we don't want to err on any technicalities in terms of this legislation being challenged at a later stage. Member Masipa, I see your hand is up, and then I think we must propose a way forward.
Chair, thanks very much. I think Ms. Hwala did indicate that she will look at that, but I thought we must maybe also move in terms of the timelines regarding, you know, her feedback in this regard. I think that will help us to really know when we can get a response, and so that we can schedule the next engagement and formal process. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Member. Yes, later on in the meeting, we will discuss the upcoming meeting dates and see if we are able then to get the officials back for a brief session, seeing as we have already discussed the one aspect, and it is really just the specific proposed amendments and the formal process that are still would still be outstanding in terms of that. So we'll look at those dates when we get to our resolution. Member Stoffel, your hand is up again.
Yes, Chair. I just want to check with you, Chair. In terms of an input, will we then also get a chance to kind of get the opportunity to engage an input? I just want to know from your side.
Yes. What I'm anticipating is that Ms. Kule will provide us with a written legal opinion in terms of what she has raised today. And then at the beginning of that meeting, we will be given an opportunity then to make a proposal if required in terms of any other amendments, depending on what the committee feels based on that legal opinion. So yes, she will be invited back, obviously. Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Ms. H.D. Gerber, you've got your hand up.
Thank you, Chairperson. We agree that procedurally to get it right and get the legal advice that you require, and also for the department and the Department of the Premier's Legal Services to be afforded opportunity to be heard in response to whatever the input might be. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, HOD, and thank you for coming to the meeting and for you and your team presenting. As mentioned, we obviously unfortunately aren't able to process the bill today, but we have got through at least that first section of the process, and we will then propose to bring the item back to a meeting as soon as possible in the future for finalization. Mr. Kutsia?
Chairperson, yeah, just in terms of Advocate Kule's input at our next meeting, then would be a legal opinion or her argument if there is an additional amendment or a change to a specific clause. But it's important that she then drafts it legally correct so that we can distribute it to the department as well, and then for the committee to adopt. The committee itself don't think we can draft specific amendments. That needs to be done by the legal people, and then it's for the committee to consider and adopt her. Unless the department has a counter proposal, then the committee will apply themselves to that counter proposal, or to accept the proposal that's made by her. Thank you, Chair. That's just procedurally how we should deal with it next meeting.
Thanks. Yes, no, of course. But I do think your point about that being distributed or circulated to the department for a response in anticipation of that meeting is a very important one. We obviously don't want officials to be put on the spot in a meeting and then end up with the same situation that we're in now. So please, if that can be drafted as soon as possible, distributed to members and to the department so that they're given an opportunity to respond, potentially to make a counter proposal, etc. And members can then consider that as mentioned, whether or not we would agree to including that amendment or not. Member Masipa, you have your hand up.
Thanks, Chair. Thank you, Chair. So I just want to say, Chair, thanks very much for Johan's input. I think very important. This is our bill as members of Parliament. So I think it will really be very important, Chair, that you emphasize the point that, you know, the inputs of the members of Parliament are very important as we shape up this bill to the next level in terms of finalization. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Member Masipa. All right, colleagues, we are then going to, as mentioned, move past that item. I will then allow the officials from the department an opportunity to make any brief closing statements if they'd like. HOD, if there's anything you'd like to say before you are granted an opportunity to leave.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, for the opportunity for us to engage with the Standing Committee. Also, to appreciation for the committee's legal advisor to make sure that that you get the legal advice that you require. And that we ensure that it's a good, thorough process. And then thank you to all the members for the good questions. Always ask the interrogation that's there. That is, of course, what the process is about, and we're looking forward to the next steps in the process. And thank you very much to the team for all the work done and for the legal advice from the Department of Legal Services throughout. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Department, thank you. If you would like to leave, anyone who's not a member of the committee or support staff is welcome to now leave the meeting. Thank you. Colleagues, the minutes, quarterly reports, and annual activity reports have been distributed, and I'd like us to just go through those 4 items for adoption, and they have all been distributed to members on the 6th of May. The first are the minutes of the 28th of April. Mr. Kutsia, are you able to flight these?
That's correct, Chair. Let me just call the minutes up.
Sure, thanks.
There we go, Chair. Is it visible?
Yes, that's visible. Okay. Do we have a proposer and a seconder? I see Member Masipa's hand.
I propose, Chair.
Member Masipa proposes for adoption. Member Murray, I see your hand.
I second the proposal, Chair.
Thank you very much. Those minutes are therefore adopted. We can then raise the 3rd quarterly report on the agenda. If we can get that up on the screen. Member Masipa, I assume that's a legacy hand, or would you like to say something? Member Masipa? Okay. It's our quarterly report. It has been distributed for all members. Do we have anything that anybody would like to raise in terms of the quarterly report? All the activities are included. Do we have anything arising? Right. Member Masipa, I see you raise your hand.
Chair, I raise my hand to just move that we accept and adopt the report.
Thank you so much. Thanks. Member Van Beek, I take it that is a seconding from your side. Member Van Beek, are you seconding? Yes?
Seconding, yes, sorry. Okay.
Thank you, Chair. All right, if we can then go on to the 4th quarterly report, Mr. Kutsia. You can just scroll down. In terms of anything that's arising, please raise that.
Yes, Chair, the 4th quarter was a quiet one. It's basically just the 2 budget votes that we dealt with, yeah.
Okay. All right, Member Van Beek's got his hand up. Are you proposing, sir?
Proposing, yes.
Yes. Do we have a seconder? Member Wessels, thank you, Member Wessels. And then finally is our committee annual activity report.
There we go.
Thank you, Mr. Kutsia. All right, so this has been distributed to members. We can then move down.
Yeah, Chair, if I could just quickly highlight, if you look at our number of public hearings we had, Now,
Sure.
they include the the annual reports discussion and the budget vote discussions as public hearings as well. But we had quite a considerable amount of public hearings, and you'll see it now at our budget at the end as well, the amount of money we've spent. But yeah, we were quite busy with public hearings this year.
We are the public hearings committee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Colleagues, do we have a proposer and a seconder in terms of the annual activity report? Member Vessels is proposing. Anybody seconding? Do we have a seconder? Member Van Beek? Thank you very much. All right. That is then thus adopted. Colleagues, if we can then move on to resolutions and actions. In terms of upcoming meetings, we have a meeting scheduled for the 2nd of June, where the municipal audit outcomes will be presented by the Auditor General's Office, with a specific focus on two of the more troubled municipalities, Knysna and Kannaland. And this emerged from a meeting with the Auditor General that took place in terms of a briefing. And they very kindly offered to, or the AG herself very kindly offered to make that presentation to our committee. We could also, if possible, with members' consent, see if we could bring back the item that we have just discussed, the land use planning bill, so that we can ensure that that is processed. That will also give 2 weeks to Ms. Kule to ensure that that legal opinion is drafted and distributed. Mr. Kutsia, you have your hand up.
Chair, yes, only to mention that we have got a slot on the parliamentary program next week, the 19th, to deal with the bill. We previously have put quite a number of slots on the program,
and that
so
one
that we
wasn't
could deal
going
with
to take place because we are anticipating it to happen today. So, okay, that's great. So if that slot is still open, colleagues, would we then be satisfied with using the 19th next week? The meeting won't be particularly long, I don't think. Is it all right for us to then get that process over and done with, if possible, next week? I see Member Morea has his hand up. Is that consent, or would you like to make an alternative proposal?
Good day, Chair. Chair, I just wanted to know, in terms of Ms. Kule's request, how much time will she actually need in order to give us feedback? You know, we want to get this through, of course, but we also want to know from our legal advisor in terms of how much work she's got on the desk and whether she'll be able to provide us with some inputs in terms of the timeline we're determining here. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks. Ms. Kule? Will you be able to complete it within the next couple of days so it can be distributed?
Chair, I do have a bit of work on my desk. Which date do you anticipate you would need it by? Would it be the 19th?
Well, the 19th is the day of the meeting. So as discussed in the meeting, we don't want to end up with a situation where departmental officials have to respond on the spot, in which case we then delay the meeting again. What we would like is for a specific legal opinion with a proposed amendment that can be considered by the department as well as members, so that when we get to the meeting, we can then discuss that and whether or not it is desirable.
Chair, I mean, to prepare a legal opinion takes some time. So I would say that I'd be able to get it to this committee on the 18th. Would that be sufficient?
No, that would only give us 1 day for consideration. Unfortunately, we'd need a little bit more time than that. Mr. Kutsia, was there another provisional date available, possibly the week after? Is that still available?
Chairperson, let me just look at the program, but I don't think so. I think there's a constituency period in between, as well as there's a Commonwealth activity one, but I think that's the same period. The next slot would then be the 2nd of June. because I actually don't want to do away with, but we can use the 2nd of June, but then we might eat into the Auditor General's time. Unless we make the meeting earlier, and we start at 8 o'clock with the bill, this issue on hand.
Ms. Kule, can I just check? I mean, considering this was originally given to you at the end of March, is there no way that you are able to produce something for us a little bit earlier than Monday?
No, Chair. This is a nuanced argument, and it will take more than a couple of days to properly capture what I'm trying to articulate. So it will not be able to be produced in such a short span of time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Member Stoffel, yes.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, in terms of your proposals, I agree on the 2nd of June. The reason, therefore, is that we have already scheduled meetings and scheduled programs. So this one is a bit really not on to ask for 18 because we already have scheduled meetings. I think that the 2nd of June and even the time will be suitable for us. And I think, Chair, what is important, we've got a challenge with these virtual meetings. If that meeting can even be physical, it will be really a plus point for us as committee to have a proper engagement with that presentation of or input. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks very much, Member Stoffel. Okay, so there's a proposal that we do the 2nd of June, because if we can't do next week, then it will need to be the 2nd of June. Mr. Kutsia, I don't see why we can't do both on the same day. We may either just need our meeting to run over a little bit longer than it normally does. Would we be able to schedule both for the 2nd of June? We'll have the presentation from the AG, and then follow on from that. We could have the consideration of this. I mean, it really is the consideration of one proposed amendment and then the reading in of the bill itself, which shouldn't take longer than half an hour. Is it possible for us to allocate both of those in for the 2nd of June? Otherwise, we then are having to push other items back.
Okay. No, Chair, it's possible. We start at 9 o'clock with the Auditor General on the 2nd of June, and then till 12, and then maybe say from 12 till 1, we can deal with the bill.
Right, and I have noted Member Stoffel's request as well for the meeting to be physical. I think that is the intention as well in any instance, if we have the AG present, but obviously the AG will have to also advise if they are able to attend physically. Maybe what we could then do is have our physical meeting and they can join us on the virtual platform.
Correct, I'll do that.
Yeah. Okay, thanks very much for that. Okay, colleagues, so that is the formal agreement then, is that Ms. Kule will then have this complete by Monday next week, and it will be distributed to members of the committee as well as departmental officials for input and comment, and we will then meet to revisit this on the 2nd of June, along with our meeting that includes the AG on the municipal audit outcomes. Then the 9th of June, we will have a meeting on the scale and impact of damage in the Western Cape resulting from the recent storms. That is a proposal that we put that on the agenda, taking into consideration, obviously, what's happened over the past couple of weeks, and to get feedback from our departmental officials and DRM, etc. Are we happy with that, colleagues, as those two dates then, the 2nd of June and the 9th of June? No objections? All right.
No.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Member Stoffel.
The 9th of June, in person or virtual?
Colleagues, would we like to do the 9th of June in person or virtual? Member Adams, you have your hand up.
Yes, Speaker, I would love to suggest a in-person meeting for this floods and storms, please.
Yes. Okay, fantastic. So, colleagues, we will then agree to aim for both meetings to be physical meetings. That is always the preference in any instance. So that's great. And if we do commit to physical meetings, then please, colleagues, make an effort to attend physically. If we go and put out drinks and snacks and the whole toot, and we only have 2 members or 3 members present, then it's a bit of a waste of money. So I know normally members are very diligent, so it'll be great to have you present. Member Masipa, you have your hand up.
Chair, I know you made a ruling already with regards to this. I would have really honestly preferred a virtual meeting with all the ongoing floods and incidents that are still going on, and I assume that many of the officials will still be on the ground. But I mean, you made a ruling, but I'm happy to abide by your ruling. But I think if we are amenable to change, as we lead to that meeting, then I suppose that we can. Thanks, Chair.
Yeah, thanks, Member Masipa. I did give members an opportunity to, if there were any objections to that, no one did. But I do take your point. Thank you. And I think certainly it's in 2 weeks' time that this is proposed to take place, or more than 2 weeks' time. So hopefully by then we're over the worst of it. But if there is an instance, then definitely, I agree with you, we can then consider moving the meeting virtually if there is another major disaster, certainly. There's nothing stopping us from doing that. Member Stoffel?
Chair, I agree with you. You have ruled over the matter, but
Okay.
it will depend on that time what we are faced with.
Yes.
So I agree fully with you, but for now, let's stick to physical meeting, Chair.
Yes.
Thanks, Chair.
That's great. Thank you very, very much. And obviously, colleagues, the same rule stands. If there is a specific reason why you aren't able to attend physically, then please just pop me an email for consideration so that we can ensure that you are provided with a link. But as mentioned, if we commit to a physical meeting, let's all make an effort to make sure that we attend. One last thing, colleagues, then before we close, in terms of the cluster visits at the end of June that are being planned for our cluster, there are 3 proposed visits that we'd like to put forward. The first is the Clan-William Dam. That has come up in our meetings previously, and it was recommended that we visit the Clan-William Dam to look at progress in terms of what's taking place there. Obviously, we are in that region, so you must remember these need to be oversights that are regionally specific. Then the Knaasvlakte Nature Reserve for an overview of poaching and long-term monitoring of mining impacts. And we'd also get an opportunity to see some of the succulents that are endangered in their natural environment. And then thirdly, the Cedarburg Nature Reserve, where we could then see the demonstration of drones, the planting of cedars within the mountains, where there are difficulties to access and gain progress on the Sustainable Cedar Project. So those are 3 proposed oversights. Are you happy with us then submitting those? We may only end up with 2 of them, depending on how full the agenda is. But the Clan-William Dam certainly, I think, is one of the ones that we would definitely like to include on there, and then possibly one of those 2 reserves at least. Are we happy with those to be submitted? No objections?
No objections.
All right. Thank you very much. Colleagues, thank you for the meeting. As mentioned, I think it's very, very important that we ensure that we are procedurally correct and we don't ride roughshod over any inputs. We will then reconvene in 2 and a bit weeks to reconsider the legislation of today, as well as the audit outcomes of those municipalities. But thank you very much. Stay dry and stay safe, and we will chat soon. Have a good day. Bye-bye. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Nomfundo. Nomsi, I'm going to stop recording. Noms? Hello. Okay, Noms, we are finished. I've stopped the recording and then yeah, I'll leave here. Okay, Noms, thanks, hey. Okay, bye. Bye.